Welcome to I Drink Your Podcast, where we drink and talk about movies from 2007.
Imagine my little girl, Regular.
Guys, did you see me dance?
No, you waste energy and time.
I turned penis into gold.
Are you okay?
I want to see you naked.
Surprise, dude. You got herpes.
If I did you a ventriloquist.
You're really well dressed for a shadow puppeteer.
What is he going to culturally appropriate this time?
My man. I drink your podcast. I drink it up.
Welcome to another episode of I Drink Your Podcast. I am Matt, and with me, as always, is Ben, Emily, and Wes.
Hello.
Hey. Hi, this is Wes's voice. I changed it up, you ass.
I was trying to go for it. All right. So today we are watching King of Kong, Fistful of Quarters, and we also have a wonderful guest with us today from podcast Real Gaming. Welcome to the show, PJ.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me.
Ooh, I love your
welcome.
voice.
Oh,
He does have a really awesome voice.
Thank you.
Coming through that
Matt's swooning.
lovely microphone. Yeah, I'm kind of like rocking in my chair a little bit.
Oh, jeez. I'm so sorry, PJ.
No, it's fine.
In excitement, okay?
In excitement.
Yeah, we know. Yeah.
Won't ask which kind of excitement, but let's go with it.
The good kind. All right, so before we get started, does anyone have anything interesting in their glass today?
I have a Pac-Man. I made a limoncello martini, but I put it in a roundish glass and put a cherry in it.
Ooh.
Nice.
So I feel very proud of myself.
I like that a lot.
It looks a little less yellow than I'd want it to look, but
Yeah.
it's very lemony. So I'm very on brand today. I'm
I
very
like the
excited
grape inside.
about it. It's not
cherry.
a grape, it's a cherry.
I like the cherry inside. I'm so sorry.
Wow.
I'm so bad at fruits. I don't eat healthy anymore.
It's gonna be one of those kind of shows, huh?
I'm on brand too. I've got a Donkey Kong cocktail, which is banana liqueur, coconut rum, and Coke.
Ooh,
Wow.
very nice.
There was a
Nice.
reason I didn't go Donkey Kong. I could not stand the idea of banana
Yeah,
liqueur.
banana liqueur
so
sounds bad.
It's pretty good.
I'll take your word for it.
I made a rum barrel for all
Oh,
the
nice.
barrels that they jump over, which is basically every kind of rum that I have. So I got a little bit of a light, a little bit of gold, a little bit of spice rum, mixed with some orange juice, lemon juice, a dash of cola, and some bitters.
Jeez.
Dang.
Fancy over
Yeah,
there.
the actual recipe calls for like twice as many ingredients. So
Jeez.
this is Wes's version, but it's actually pretty good. I'm surprised.
I've got I couldn't think of anything all that creative, so I came up with something I call Peach Thief, and it's just gin with peach Red Bull. So it's actually not bad, but I was like, something with peach in it. I figured somebody would do, Donkey Kong or a barrel, and I'm like,
Very
I'll
nice.
go for the peach angle, see if I can
I love
get something
it.
nobody else
Very
did.
nice.
So PJ, the premise of the show is, movies from 2007. So what were you up to in 2007?
Yeah, I actually love the fact that your podcast is based on movies from 2007. This was the year I turned 16. I started driving. And at the time I was going, half of my time at school was in high school and half of the time was in a college course for like TV, radio, broadcasting. So I was, doing a lot of making small films and broadcasting on the radio and things like that. And I think I went and saw just about every single movie in theaters that year, except I'd never heard of the one we're covering today till I watched it just a week ago. So yeah, it was a good year.
Nice. So you just learned to drive. So 16 years old. Were you like a great driver? Were you a reckless driver?
I feel like I've always been a pretty good driver. I drive for a living now.
Oh,
Okay.
I did get into my first accident when I was about 16 or 17, and it came down to not understanding how to lock my four-wheel drive in on my truck. I thought I was in four-wheel drive, and I was not. And I hit a patch of ice and spun out and hit a telephone pole. So
Oh, God.
that's about it for me though. I've not had any other real bad accidents. It wasn't even bad. I actually fixed the truck in like a day. So old early 80s truck made out of metal. So pretty easy to fix actually.
Yeah, just reinforcing like, we're invincible.
I basically had to change a hood and a grill, and it took me like a day.
Nice. Tell us a little bit about your podcast and how you choose what to cover.
Right now, I'm doing two different podcasts. I do Totally Plausible Conspiracy Theory, which is recorded live on Twitch, and it goes on YouTube and all that stuff. And we just cover pretty much anything kind of conspiracy related, but we do other stuff too, like cryptids, and we've done some interesting like true crime cases that were unsolved and stuff. That one's kind of just, we come up with a lot of topics ahead of time and just kind of decide, have a lot of input from our Discord community. So that one's fun. And then after been doing that one for a while, I started another one recently called Real Gaming Podcast. The whole premise being that we watch a movie. I bring on a different guest every time and watch a movie and then play the video game that's based on that movie and kind of talk about the comparison. It's like when I grew up, a lot of video games were based on movies. Pretty much all of them, like the early, like Sega Genesis and Nintendo had a lot of like licensed games and stuff. Mm-hmm. So I just thought it was a fun concept because I'm like I said, I'm a huge fan of movies, big fan of video games. So I thought kind of combining the two would be a little bit fun. I've had fun doing it. So
typically the video game seems to be like a cash grab, would you say?
Yeah. And that's kind of the premise, is like we're looking at are they just a cash grab? There are a few that have really stood out that are actually really phenomenal games that I've covered so far. I actually think the Riddick video game is really great. Okay. It's not directly based on the movie. It's a prequel. I found the ones that are directly based on movies generally aren't as good, and the ones that are kind of based on the movie license can be better. Like Alien Isolation was really good if you like horror games.
Mm-hmm.
I do.
Those
not.
two really stood out to me.
Have you played E.T.?
I have played E.T. and I've not covered it on the podcast yet. That is an unplayable game. It's terrible.
Right. Yeah, you're going to have something to talk about other than the game, because you'll be done in like the first 20
usually ends
seconds.
up where we talk about the movie way more than the game on stuff like that. Like I did a Jaws episode, and I think the Jaws game for NES was, you could beat it in 15 minutes. So it's like an hour of talking about the movie, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. And then 10 minutes of kind of discussing the game. So it doesn't always balance out, but it's pretty fun. The episodes last about an hour. So.
Okay.
Very cool.
What about King of Kong? I guess I haven't mentioned this yet, but this is a documentary we watched, King of Kong, Fistful of Quarters. So what about this movie made you excited to be on our show?
Well, honestly, I'm just excited to be on your show because I really enjoy the show. I didn't know about the movie, so you guys told me about it. And I got to say, when I read the synopsis or whatever and the title, I really thought this was going to be a mockumentary. For real. I was like, oh, this is going to be like this Spinal Tap and stuff. And no, I liked it. It was fun. It's kind of had some interesting characters in it. So
yeah,
that is an understatement.
Yes.
Very much an understatement.
Well, cool. We're excited to get to goof around and talk about this movie with you, PJ. And for the listening audience, if you guys don't know about our show, the first half we'll be discussing and reviewing King of Kong. And then the second half will be a Battle of Twits creative competition pitting me against our guest, PJ. Our current leaderboard is guests with 8. Matt and Ben are tied with 6. And Wes and Emily are tied with 4. So let's start talking about this movie. So this is King of Kong, A Fistful of Quarters, directed by a completely unbiased Seth Gordon, featuring Gamer Jesus. Oh, that's great. Mr. Litwick, your middle school math teacher, and Mr. Awesome. Those were all of their alter egos, by the way. Some of them chosen for them, some of them not. Gamer Jesus, big fan.
And when I start hearing some noises coming down the stairs, screaming, I don't believe this is happening, guys. Wipe your bottom? I will in a second, bud. What? Okay, bring me some toilet paper, buddy. Derek, I'm gonna get the world record, Derek. Derek, I'm gonna get the world record. Don't wait. Derek. No. Derek! You stop it.
Walter Day is the founder of Twin Galaxies, an arcade organization dedicated to tracking high scores on classic arcade games since the 80s. When Steve Wiebe, a middle school math teacher from Redmond, Washington, beats the high score of Donkey Kong and sends his videotape to be judged, Twin Galaxies sends 2 referees to check the legitimacy of the score. Upon learning that Mr. Awesome gave Steve a new circuit board, they reject the score at the urging of Billy Mitchell, the current record holder. And since Mr. Awesome is his rival, Billy implies that the circuit board must have been tampered with and that a videotape carries less validity than scores achieved in public.
Seems pretty straightforward. I mean, how could
it's
anybody
a battle
misconstrue
between
that?
Billy Mitchell and
It's a little road. It's
Steve
been done
Wiebe.
before, but you know.
That's really all I had to say. That was it. There were no other side characters of any significance throughout this entire movie, right?
Billy's understudy at the arcade.
Yeah, he doesn't really come until Act 2, but...
Oh my God, I was being sarcastic.
I picked up on it.
It was a valid question, I thought.
It is full of characters.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this whole thing is all about arcade games, and I don't do arcade games at all. I've never really played any arcade games except when I went to the Uptown in Minneapolis, Minnesota, where we're from, and that's like the only time I've ever played like arcade games ever. So
what'd you play?
I don't even remember. I was drunk because this is like, a bar and arcade games, and I don't really remember what I was doing. I just remember pressing a lot of buttons as fast as I could.
I feel like the bar arcade thing is kind of coming back right now. They're kind of popping up all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
At least they were before COVID, yeah.
Oh, yeah, true.
Right.
That's true. But I was going to ask, since all of you are older than me, do you all have any history with arcade games?
Oh, yeah. I used to play Dance Dance Revolution quite often, and we go feed dollars into the machine. I moved to New York City, and I got to experience those bar arcades, like Barcade it's called. And a lot of times on the weekend, it turns into a shit show where there's just shoulder to shoulder packed. Nobody's playing video games, and it's just like this hipster place to be, which kind of sucks. And then I was also in a pinball league in New York City.
There's a pinball league.
4 years. Yeah, there's a league and a B league, and I played in the B league, and we still got competitive. I played 3 years, and we won our championship in my third year. And they have like a cool Dr. Ock, which is like a famous Spider-Man game. They had a Dr. Ock trophy with like the hands coming over a ball. It was a really cool time, but I probably spent like $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 over that 4-year span in New York City, just feeding dollars into pinball machines.
I know growing up, my mom took us a lot to Circus Pizza, which was kind of like an off-brand Chuck E. Cheese with like the animatronic band that always played music. And it was an arcade, so they had a bunch of different arcade games. My favorite was the Simpsons game.
Yes.
If you remember that arcade game,
yeah.
that was a phenomenal one. And then Lakeville Theater, the theater that I frequented growing up, they had an Arkanoid machine, and I loved playing Arkanoid. I would go like an hour before the movie started and just play Arkanoid and Addams Family Pinball. Just constantly. Loved it.
Great.
I feel like I missed out so much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't play a ton of arcade games. I dabbled here and there, but never spent like a ton of time. My favorite was always the Silent Scope games. I really like the shooter games. I think one was called like Police 911 Trainer, or
Yep.
I remember there's one game, and I think it played it at Valley Fair in their arcade, but it had like it was one of the first times I remember like a motion sensor, and it had like a bar that went over you, but it was still just like a shooting game. So you had a gun, but like to dodge in and out, like Time Crisis where you have to step on a pedal. But this game, like you actually had to use your body and bob in and out. And I've never been the most athletic guy. And I remember after playing that game for like an hour, like my thighs were just screaming because it's just nothing but like squats the entire time.
Right. Yeah.
I spent a lot of time as a kid at the local roller rink, which had a big arcade attached to it. So yeah, Simpsons, which Ben mentioned, was one of the best. I still think it's one of the best arcade games out there. I think you can get it on Xbox in like their arcade store now, which I need to check into. I don't have an Xbox, but I want to maybe get it on PC. That's just a fun game to play with friends. Yeah, I've been to most recently. There's a place in Lansing, Michigan. I think it's called like Pinball Pete's.
That's a great name.
It's great. And it's got that $10 cover charge. You can just play all the games without putting quarters into them, which is great. Yeah, grew up with Chuck E. Cheese. I remember one time, you guys ever play that like rail shooter Jurassic Park one they had? Where you'd like sit in a Jeep and it would bounce up and down.
You'd go in and you'd close the curtain.
I love those games.
My grandparents used to take us to Chuck E. Cheese and give us like so much money, and everybody would try to get all the tickets. And I realized that's a chumpatizing kind of move right there, to borrow a phrase from Mr. Awesome.
Yes, thank you.
And because you never get enough tickets to get anything good. So I just sat there and used all of my tokens to beat that Jurassic Park game one time. And I got super motion sick. I was like thrown up in the parking lot. Super fun though.
Wow.
So I have learned now that arcade games are actually kind of serious. So this movie, is kind of serious, I guess.
Yeah, but we aren't even nearing how nerdy these guys are about their arcade games. Like we're talking about it and we're excited, but these guys are next level into this.
Is it nerdy
It's
or
ridiculous.
devoted?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll accept yes. Thank you, Emily.
Well, yeah. One of them owns a cabinet and he plays at night after his family goes to bed.
Or while his kid needs
Instead of
his diaper
wiping his
changed.
kid's ass.
I kind of read into that part of the movie as really sad.
Yeah, same.
Like world record in this game, Donkey Kong, versus like your child screaming at you
Stop
to like
playing
take care of them.
Donkey Kong.
Oh my God.
I don't want to jump ahead to like the second act or anything, but there is a really great quote from his daughter later on in the movie that kind of sums that up.
Definitely. I mean, you could bring it up now if you want.
I don't know. I'm kind of excited about that teaser. Keep listening to find out what it is.
What about that serious arcade game? Who would have thought the punching bag for $1 measures how hard you punch would make arcades millions of dollars just pitting macho men against each other to see how hard they can hit a bag.
Is that any different than trying to exert your supremacy by getting a high score on Donkey Kong? Like, I see no difference.
I think there's a difference. One is a swing of an arm and one is like a game.
Yeah, one takes actual skill and one is just a video game.
So is that any different than Matt flailing his lanky body around while playing DDR?
Yeah, I was thinking you guys have it all wrong on how you're trying to impress the chicks these places. We all know it's Centipede. All right, Walter Day lets us know if you want to be cool, if you want to get the chicks, you got to be good at Centipede.
Okay, speaking of Walter Day, when they introduce this whole movie and they introduce each of the characters, right? You've got your Billy Mitchell and you've got your Steve Wiebe. Those are the two rivals, and Billy Mitchell's the one that looks like Jesus. And, he's worshipped by all of these Donkey Kong followers and everything. And he sells hot sauce. Like that's his job, I guess.
Yeah, I don't think Jesus wore that nice of ties, though. I mean, I'm just saying.
Yes. And he had his shirts behind him. It was so much like The Office, where he was like at his day job talking about the good old days when he set the high score in Donkey Kong. It was wild.
Right. And Walter Day is the one that like got all of these guys together back in the 80s to have them like start this huge competition and to keep track of everything. But I think my favorite part was learning that he has his own music career. And he's just they're singing songs about the good old days. And there's me just sitting there rolling my eyes. I cannot believe people take this so seriously. But by the end of it, I was like rooting for Steve Wiebe. I was like, yes, go Steve.
Yeah, I hate to say how into it I got by the end. I just really wanted him to win. And in the beginning, I was like, oh my gosh, these people.
Anybody that sticks with that haircut into 2006 definitely is living in the past.
Oh, he still has it. I watched an interview. He still has it.
Not surprised. Yeah, I think that was kind of interesting, and maybe it's more for later, but I think we're mostly on the same page with, I'm guessing, aside from Ben, because when we were talking about this after the movie, I said, like, poor Steve, and I really felt bad for Steve. But Ben, I think you have a different opinion.
I don't see how you can feel bad for any of these people or feel good about any of them, because they're all just sycophantic and obsessed with this thing. And I don't, I mean, at the end of the day, it's a video game that he didn't get a high score on. It's not like he got cancer. Like, I'm not gonna be upset. Dude, don't sit there and cry. Like, you're not dying. You didn't get your name in a fucking book. It's not that big a deal.
Unfairly treated, though. It was more about how it was approached and less about what the subject matter was behind his tears.
No, but people get screwed every day. Like, systems are built and designed to exclude people like Steve, in this case with the gamer community, and other systems throughout the world that exclude people. Like, I'm not going to shed a tear for this guy who, at the end of the day, has a family that loves him. His wife is super supportive of his silly hobby. And he's got a full-time job that he's going to make money on and be able to live for the rest of his life. Like, I don't feel bad for this guy at all.
Yeah, but his dad was his baseball coach and pitched him too hard, so he was disappointed from the get-go. He's got a voice.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you. This valuable backstory.
Speaking of his whole backstory, like, what was that? Like, oh, he was so good at sports and he's so good at music, but he just wasn't good enough to do all of these things. And so he decided to pursue arcade games.
Every time his wife talked about him, she's like, I know he can do anything. I'm just worried he won't. So it was just like, so like, it felt weird. I totally support having like a fun hobby like that. As long as it doesn't become like obsessive, like, you know, ignoring your children. Like that was a weird part of the doc for me where I thought it was interesting at one point where there's this one guy who's like, I've never seen a high score like this before. You know, the guy that was in charge of watching like hours and thousands of hours of like
Robert Mirzak or whatever.
Oh,
Am I saying that right?
Yeah. He's one of the official checkers. So he'd check all the high scores people would submit by videotape. And he's just like, this is amazing, you know? But at the same time, us as normal viewers are like, take care of your child screaming at you to quit playing Donkey Kong. Like the 3-year-old is saying, stop playing Donkey Kong and come and wipe my ass.
It got even more sad later in the movie. They played a little bit more of the tape and the kid is like crying, like begging his dad to like stop playing Donkey Kong. And it really was kind of depressing.
Yeah, 100%.
That's the point where Steve stopped being a sympathetic character for me. And
that was like the beginning of the movie.
it was like around a third of the way. So Steve, I think they identify him in the movie as autistic, don't they?
They say maybe.
Yeah, they think.
I think his parents say something about it, or
his mom does. Yeah.
Yeah. That just the obsessiveness of it was just a little too much for me.
Mm-hmm. I feel like I agree with you, but I also feel like there was something in me that wanted this guy to succeed at something. Cause I kind of get that, like, as far as trying to be the best at something and always falling a little bit short. Like it might've been silly and it was later in his life where he couldn't chase music or sports or anything like that. But this was kind of, like, I get what you're saying. I'm just saying I feel like he wanted to achieve something. So I kind of get that.
Well,
it makes you feel
real quick, PJ. I think the thing that you're feeling that Ben doesn't is something called empathy.
Oh, that's what it is.
Oh.
But if he wanted to be the best at something, he should have been the best teacher. He sucked in the classroom. His kids weren't learning. They weren't even listening to him tell stories. Like they were all just talking to each other.
Yeah.
They didn't record lesson plans. They recorded when he was talking about relevant stuff.
Yo, and all the kids are like, our teachers are weird, man.
Yeah, I know. But even the way he was just like talking to his students, he was just a really bizarre guy in the way that he was just letting the kids. There was no classroom management whatsoever. Like that was the first thing I noticed. I was like, you're just letting kids talk and you're not even. Oh,
I love that the
teacher
reminded me of every high school science teacher I had. So it felt right at home for me. And they were all pretty terrible. So yeah.
And I am a high school science teacher, so I think maybe that's why I don't like Steve, is because I see a little too much of myself in him.
Right.
Yep.
But he was like an engineer before or something, a failed engineer. And so like with him drawing all these arrows and like angles of things of when he was supposed to jump at proper times in the arcade, like when I saw that, I was going, is that cheating? Like being able to draw on it? I don't know, maybe.
I think they just did that for the documentary. I don't think he actually did that.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure he was game planning because the video camera would have picked it up if it was still on the screen when he recorded his high score.
It was kind of like how Billy and Steve, they mentioned a couple times that after that original like 1984 competition, they used each other to basically learn and teach each other how to do these, like their gaming techniques for each one of these. So I think that's why they showed that for Steve Wiebe, was just that he's doing it on his own, and you know
they're just pissed off about it.
I want to check in with everybody real quick. Can we stop and ask everybody? I want to go around the room. Do we respect what these guys are doing? Like, do we value the skill and the gameplay, or are we rolling our eyes?
No,
at
I know
it?
Ben's answer. That's why I'm laughing.
The only guy I respect is Mr. Awesome.
Oh my God.
No.
He's just willing to be himself and be completely out there. Like he knows what he is and who he is, and he's willing to just, put that forward. He's a completely despicable guy, but I respect his despicableness. Like he's not hiding under a nice guy routine like Steve is, the negligent father.
Oh, wow.
Is this because you are a dad? Is this why you're so upset about it?
All right, so Ben's a hard no.
Ben's a hard no. I fall in the middle ground of I don't really care. I agree with Ben to a point. I'm arguing about it, but like, yeah, it's just video games. But at some point, you have to respect somebody's passion. And no matter what that is, like, people are passionate about different things. So I can get behind that aspect of this for all the characters in this movie.
I agree with you, Wesley. I'm kind of in that middle ground too, where for me, it's like you have this passion. It could have been a sport, you know, obviously it's not, but it's something that they're really good at and they're passionate about. But at the same time, I'm just sitting here like, really? You're getting that into this? So yes, I was rolling my eyes, but also cheering for Steve Wiebe.
Okay. So video games are not a sport.
Yeah, that's what I was
They're not.
saying.
Okay.
No, they're not. I'm saying, but it's like
That's a debate question.
comparatively to if someone's like really athletic and working their hardest to do their best in a sport, for example.
Mm-hmm.
I think we could disagree a little bit on that one. I think.
Okay, well, what are you talking about? Tell me. I'm confused.
I think video games, and I feel like the Twitch streamers here might have more to say about it, but you know, it's just working a different part of your body, like the physical. Again,
I'm not talking about that.
I have not been an athletic man in my life.
Similar passion. Like for me as a swimmer, competitive swimmer, I would push myself to do my best because I wanted to achieve like my high score.
Okay.
That's what I'm talking about. The comparative of reaching a high score and beating other people, that competitive nature. I can understand that passion. I'm not comparing it to a sport in that way. God.
I think it's a sport. I'm just gonna throw it out there. I think it's a sport.
PJ, take over for me, please.
Okay, so yeah, I actually feel like it's so weird that we want to call everything a sport now. Mm-hmm. And someone who enjoys esports to a certain extent and is part of like, you know, the Twitch community and stuff like that. I know this is gonna obviously rub people the wrong way, some people, but I don't feel like everything that you do that's competitive is a sport. Like you can be competitive in things and not. I don't know. I feel like sports has to include some type of athletics. I wouldn't call mathletes a sport, but you know, it's obviously something. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Let's go after
like
Ben.
it's
Let's
still a
go after
competition.
Ben.
It's still something that requires, you know, like thinking and skill,
Right.
but I don't
or
know if
knowledge
that's
bowl or trivia.
Yeah. So I mean, you wouldn't call like Ken from Jeopardy like an athlete. You know what I mean? So
I disagree.
Yeah, I don't know. I understand to some degree, like especially with Steve Wiebe, like wanting to achieve something and be the best at something one time. But you can see just how awful this is on all these people's lives. Like, it's so obsessive and so life consuming that it's like you just couldn't imagine trying to have a conversation with them about anything else or having them be interesting in any other, you know, well-rounded kind of way. It seems a little harmful or very harmful for some of these people.
All this movie boils down to is another male pissing contest. Like it's just guys wanting their names set in stone and wanting to mean something and have a legacy. Like that's why there's so few women in this movie. Like
except for that one grandma.
Except for the grandma.
I was rooting for Granny. I was rooting for her hard.
Yeah, Cubert Tramp. Yeah.
She was so great.
Yeah. I guess just to round out this point, I'm full team video games are a sport. And it's only because it's like anything that requires technique, practice, and then in a lot of games, teamwork. You have to think of those kind of three things. And I guess like if you start to think about it, like a lot of like, the Overwatch players or like Fortnite or any of those esports, like they're like actually taxing their bodies and they have like injuries and stuff. So
technique, practice, and teamwork. Is sex a sport?
Oh, shit, yeah.
It could be.
Not if you're doing it by yourself.
He's going to have a shot at getting to the kill screen. As far as I know, no one's ever achieved a kill screen on the Donkey Kong machine at FunSpot.
Donkey Kong is really strange in that it actually lets you play the kill screen level for maybe 5 seconds or so. Everything looks normal, and then suddenly Mario just up and dies on you.
There's a potential Donkey Kong kill screen if you want to watch. If anybody wants to see, there's a Donkey Kong kill screen coming up.
After his 1,000,000 points score is rejected, Steve Wiebe is encouraged to do a public tournament to achieve the Donkey Kong high score. He travels across the country to FunSpot in New Hampshire and challenges Billy Mitchell to a Donkey Kong competition. Although Steve breaks Billy's record and reaches 985,600 points, Billy doesn't show up, but instead sends his friend Brian Koo to show everyone a tape of Billy reaching over 1,000,000 points. In an immediate reversal of their new policy on videotape scores, Twin Galaxies proclaims Billy the record holder despite some skepticism about the video's authenticity.
Again, shout out to Kubert Grandma, who apparently was only in this movie to deliver this videotape.
Right?
I was really disappointed when they didn't actually show her like doing anything with Kubert.
So I had read that this movie originally was supposed to be about competitive gaming in general, and it wasn't until they'd started filming it that they kind of focused in on the Billy Mitchell, Steve Wiebe thing. So I think there would have been more with her and with some of the other characters had the focus not changed. I wanted to see Granny win. I wanted to see that part of the movie.
I think at the beginning of the movie, they really set it up well for it to cover 80s retro gaming. And they're like, these are the 6 giants. But instead, it seemed they started focusing towards Donkey Kong super, super hard. And I felt like you're right. Like once the focus shifted, it was like, I would have loved to see Grandma crush at Kubert, right?
I think that's a really good point, though. And you had said up top, Matt, that you think that this movie was ahead of its time. And I think that I don't watch a ton of documentaries, but I watch ones that a lot of people tell me to watch because they end up being really good. But I think a lot of the best documentaries that I've seen recently do that. They start out with a hyper generalized idea and then get really hyper focused down. But in some of the best ones I've seen, go directions that I never thought were going to be possible at the beginning. And I'm mostly thinking of 3 Identical Strangers. If anybody hasn't seen that, highly recommend that movie and don't look it up.
That is a phenomenal documentary, Wesley. And actually, I feel like that's a counterpoint to what you just said, because 3 Identical Strangers knew the story it was telling throughout the whole time. It's not like it just shifted along with like new things that were found or new evidence. And I think that's why this movie kind of struggled, in my opinion, to tell its stories, because it started so broad and then it ended up narrowing down at the exclusion of all this other interesting stuff that you could have talked about. In that way, I feel like the movie kind of lost its way.
Sure.
Right. They shot
That's
300 hours of footage.
Yeah, for this one, right?
Yeah, for this documentary.
Yeah.
And then they decided to go with this whole rivalry thing.
Yeah. Did anybody else feel like there was going to be this weird, like, seedy underworld part of this story at one point? I remember they're showing Robert Mirzik's face. Like, they kept zooming up on it. And he was like some kind of, like, comic book guy / Godfather figure. And it was so weird. Like, they're breaking into Steve Wiebe's house to look at his board. I honestly expected somebody to die and be, like, shoved in the lake attached to a Donkey Kong machine.
Especially after they go to Brian Koo's cabin, and it's like a gathering of the inner family. That it was very creepy.
Yeah, and they set it up so it was all going to be like, oh, sabotage? Is there like, are these guys going to start hurting each other? And it was like, no, they like avoided each other to the death.
I thought that Billy Mitchell was going to go all Tanya Harding on him, and he's about to break that score and just smash his kneecap or something with a lead pipe.
Now, I wonder, PJ, if you think that because this movie very obviously had a bias towards Steve Wiebe at the expense of Billy Mitchell. Like, Billy Mitchell, every quote that they use from him makes him just look like an asshole.
He looks like a douche the entire time, for sure.
Granted, he did say those things, so there is some asshole in him.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like that's his entire character and personhood.
It's hard for me to take anybody seriously that refers to himself in the third person all the time. He comes off as a Ben Stiller caricature, like the whole movie.
Yes, he looks a lot like Ben Stiller, too.
I swear you said that to me in a text, Ben.
I did.
Nice. Okay, so I'm not the only one that thought that.
No, yeah.
When I was watching this, I think when Brian Koo was walking around and circling, he's like, hey, a kill screen is coming up. Like, everyone gather around. They really painted him in like this weird, I'm just Billy Mitchell's little buddy, and not like he was an actual really famous gamer himself. Like, learning more after this documentary went by, he actually set a bunch of records and retired super early. And he just like hangs out and works at an arcade game place now.
I felt like there was a lot of disciples of Billy Mitchell that were super, it felt like brainwashed. And the way that they were calling him, like him and Steve Sanders kept calling Billy to kind of report on him. And Brian Koo was one of the people that broke into Steve Wiebe's garage. So.
Right. And then I watched an interview from last year where Brian Koo's talking to this guy, and Billy Mitchell is playing Donkey Kong right behind him. And every time Brian like defends himself, Billy Mitchell's like, "Oh, sure. Yeah, you definitely did that." And he's like being just a sarcastic ass to his friend. So I feel like that's just who he is. He's just a sarcastic ass. And people just don't get that complete picture that he's actually kind of a funny guy. And that apparently him and Steve Wiebe didn't have this real hatred for one another.
Yeah, that's one of the things I learned when I started getting into school for film and documentaries and stuff like that is you can shape a documentary to be what you want it to be a little bit. Like, obviously, like you said, Billy Mitchell's kind of an ass. He's kind of a douche. Like, there's no way of getting around that. But even afterwards, like Steve Wiebe and Billy Mitchell were supposedly on a lot better terms than the documentary showed. And he's a self-serious kind of weird guy, but it makes you wonder if they would have shown some of his other aspects if you would have had the same like hatred for you're supposed to feel like you want Steve Wiebe to kick this guy's ass. Even if you don't care about Donkey Kong, you're just like, okay, well now I'm invested. Now I want to see him win.
Do you guys think this movie is a precursor to kind of the gaming culture that we have now? Because I know a lot of my students will just sit and watch YouTube videos of other people playing video games.
I don't think that's anything new, really. I think that today with Twitch and things like that, there are people who get really involved in other people. One of the weird things I felt with this movie that I see a lot that I've never really been involved in is just the drama. Like I do a little bit of Twitch streaming and people will come in and be like, "Oh, what do you think that this guy did?" or whatever. I'm like, I have no idea who that is. Like, he might be like the number one guy on Twitch. I'm like, I don't care. I don't want to get involved in the drama. I don't know the top people because I'm just not. It's like watching E with celebrities. Like, I don't give a shit if Jessica Alba got divorced last week. Like, how does that affect me at all?
Did that happen?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Wow.
I don't know, man.
I think you guys are onto something though. Like, if you're trying to be the best at something, there's always going to be that ultra competitive, rival type animosity. I think they talked about like steel sharpens steel, just talking about video games, whatever. But like, in Fortnite, these guys will hate each other and they're just like talking shit and they tweet. And like, if Twitter and Twitch were popping at this time while these two were going back and forth, we'd be able to see and hear everything.
Oh, that's a good point. Mm-hmm. That would be really interesting to see.
Yeah. And it's really interesting too, because these are full grown adults playing these like cabinet games, right? So they're like trying to be cool about it. And like a lot of the esports stars of today are 14, 15, 16 years old. So their beef can go like through the roof in like a second because they're just teenagers managing millions of fans. It's wild.
It's wild.
And there's cheating as well. Like, kids are tempted to cheat, just like Billy was tempted to cheat. I mean, I just looked up Billy Mitchell on Wikipedia, and there's like a discrepancy between Twin Galaxies about the validity of his scores using emulation software to falsify it.
I had read that in 2017, they had actually taken all of his scores off because they were able to prove that he used some kind of like, I don't remember the name of the software, but it allows you to save states. So it's kind of an emulator. And he had definitely cheated in that over 1 million score.
But then he did a lawsuit this year, actually. And in June, they reinstated him in all the Guinness Book World Record stuff.
Oh, I did not know that.
But not the Twin Galaxy record books.
Right. Twin Galaxy and him are just like separated forever.
I just have to point out my least favorite quote from this topic of rivalries. I forget exactly who it was. It might have been Walter Day, but saying it's one of the classic rivalries, like the Yankees and Red Sox. And then he lists a couple more, but then ends it with Heckle and Jekyll.
Yeah, I loved that part.
Yeah,
what?
That's not a thing.
So are you guys team Heckle or team Jekyll? I just want to know.
I also wanted to chat a little bit about when the guy went around talking about, hey, there's a kill screen coming up on Donkey Kong. Because when you're playing pinball in a competitive state, like if somebody's hovering over your shoulder, that's like the behavior of like when a child plays. Like you don't expect adults to behave that way. And sometimes a lot of those pinball matches got really contentious. And like people would intentionally fuck with each other or like try to stand in their view, and people would stop playing and tell somebody to get the fuck out of the way. And like it was wild. So like I thought that made Steve a really likable character when he went into Fun Spot and he put up that super high score with that guy over his shoulder talking shit and being like, yeah, there's a total random element, and it's like, I thought I was going to get the first to kill the kill screen, but maybe I'll still have my chance as long as this guy fucks up. So we'll see.
Yeah.
There would be zero claim of it being a sport, though, if you were like with a guy over your shoulder. Stop watching me. Like, I can't perform when you watch me. Like, sports need spectators.
Yeah, just like sex.
So for me, Steve was a little bit of a sympathetic character in this moment, in this whole fun spot area, just because when Billy Mitchell has the tape delivered, it was this crushing moment of, oh, I achieved something. Finally, I came all this way to do this. I achieved it. And then a half hour later, it is broken. That happened to me with swimming, actually, where I broke a record for swimming. And it didn't even matter to me that I broke the record. It was my best time. I was really excited about it. But then literally the evening, there was a girl that swam faster than me and broke the record again. And this rivalry continued for 4 years of college swimming.
I gotta say, the whole thing with Walter Day right there, he's all like, oh, Billy Mitchell's, pulls Jedi mind tricks. And he's like, oh, you need to see my papers? No, you don't. And the very next thing, he's like, hey, Billy, this looks fake. There's like some distortion over the score, and then it keeps jump cutting. And he's like, no, it's real. He's like, okay, putting it on the website right now. It's like he's like totally got Jedi mind tricked right there, and it felt like so shitty for Steve Wiebe. Like I had to feel for him a little bit there too.
That's great documentary filmmaking, though, taking something he says and then immediately turning it against him in action. Like, yeah, that's super effective.
Out of the entire global classic gaming hobby, there's one significant rivalry that's equivalent to the big rivalries in history. Yankees, Red Sox, Maris Mantle, Heckle and Jekyll, all the big rivalries in history. This is up there on that level. So Billy Mitchell and Steve Wiebe are going for the top spot in the forthcoming Book of World Records on Donkey Kong.
9 months later, Twin Galaxies is asked to be the official scorekeepers for the Guinness World Records. When Steve learns about this and that Billy Mitchell is going to be in the Guinness Book of World Records for 2007, he gets back to practicing. He again challenges Billy to a Donkey Kong competition, this time held in Billy's hometown of Hollywood, Florida. Although Billy refuses after 4 days of playing and waiting around for Billy, Steve fails to beat Billy's tape score. However, Walter Day acknowledges Steve's integrity and tells him to submit his scores via videotape, which he does, and later breaks Billy's record.
Acknowledges his integrity while also mispronouncing his last name through the entirety of the fucking movie.
The whole movie.
Hey, he learns at the end. Someone, I don't remember who corrects him.
I think Sanders.
Yeah, he becomes friends with him and at the same time with Billy, which was why I felt that at this point I was like, ooh, they really are stretching the truth here on how they're portraying people.
The one person who wasn't, I don't think, affected by the portrayal is Steve's wife, who may be the most patient and supportive woman I've ever seen set to film. She's incredible.
Yeah, I fell in love with his wife a little bit. I mean, she seriously, this is such a silly hobby. She feels that way, you can tell, but she's so supportive. She wants to see her husband feel good about himself and be successful in something. And she feels bad for the way baseball and basketball and all these things went for him. And you got to love that in her, that she's like, yeah, Donkey Kong, it's silly. And he spends too much time playing video games, but she still loves him and she supports him. So yeah, she's probably the best character in this whole documentary by far.
Oh, that is for sure. And she even goes with him for this big thing and is just there to really watch the kids while he plays Donkey Kong the whole time.
I did find that quote that I was talking about earlier. His daughter was talking to him in the car on the way, I think it was to this competition. And he's talking about the Guinness Book of World Records. And she says, some people sort of ruin their lives to be in there, don't they? I just had to laugh so hard. It was like so much wisdom coming out of a 7-year-old or however old she was.
Right. I think the van door was closing or something and it got caught. Oh, it was so funny. I'm like, yes.
She looks at her little brother like, I just zinged dad right there.
Yeah, she was great, but I want to just real quick, I doubt we have much to talk about, but the reveal of Billy Mitchell's wife.
Boobs.
Yeah.
Did anybody else just go like, oh God, yeah, that's who's married to Billy Mitchell. That's
right.
That makes sense.
And she's like the opposite. It's like she didn't understand anything about video games. Like she was I don't know if Billy just didn't let her come into that world with him, but like Steve's wife seemed like she knew.
Anything.
Yeah, she says like at one point she's like, "Oh no, he's never played in front of me."
She was in it for the hot sauce money. We all know this.
That's the
big hot sauce money.
So weird. So weird.
My only problem with this documentary, forwards to backwards, loved it, except for at the very end, they had to use text like explaining what had happened to draw an end to the conclusion of the documentary.
Isn't that what most documentaries do?
100%. But at the same time, this is him beating the score. They could have gone and just got another interview with him or got more footage or just did a few more pickup
after
days.
300 hours of footage.
I mean, like they knew which way was focused at that point. So I was like, okay, he wins the record and we just read about that and like directed by, you know, like, come on, give me the
To be fair, did you really want to watch more of Steve Wiebe playing Donkey Kong?
No, I would have liked that footage to be in there and then the rest of it edited down a little bit.
Felt like it was an interesting way to do it because it almost felt like it ended on a sour note and you were kind of like, oh, you know, I mean, he tried his best and then, you know, does a whole twist ending thing. Like it doesn't do like a record scratch or something like that. Like, whoa,
Yeah.
wait, there's more.
And then like, but
Yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting way to do it. I can't imagine. I mean, this could have also happened after they had edited the majority of this film. It's hard to tell. I don't remember what day they said he set the record and when the film came out, but it was an interesting way to do it.
Yeah, I suppose I feel like maybe it was up against a deadline. They were going to premiere it and then it happened. That would make a ton of sense because they're like, all right, just slap that at the end of the film and let's go.
I mean, to your same point, though, why didn't they show Hubert Grandma's death? You know, why did that just have to be in a text?
Because they're assholes.
Because it was horrific.
She died in a 500 car pileup. She was the cause of.
Okay, I have a question because I don't know who Seth Gordon is, and so I briefly looked up, and he's not just like some random documentary film person. Like he has done other stuff, and I just assumed that documentary makers, they're just documentary makers. I don't know if I have anywhere that I'm going with this, but I was curious, like who is he, and like why did he make a documentary if he has like other stuff?
Is he the one that did Horrible Bosses, right?
Yes, he is.
Okay, because I looked up Steve Wiebe on IMDb, and he was in Horrible Bosses, and he was in Four Christmases as like little cameos.
What?
So I figured it had to have been the same director. Yeah, for real. He's like a security guy in Horrible Bosses.
So Seth Gordon got his start in documentaries, and it was his skill in making this one that allowed him the ability to then make other movies and get more mainstream.
Oh, gotcha.
Oh, yeah.
That's not all that uncommon. There's a couple of big name directors that started with documentaries, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Was this like a really good documentary then? Like, I mean, I didn't look at any reviews. I just watched it and I enjoyed it.
Yep, it's 95% on Rotten Tomatoes, and it was a lot of people said it was one of the two best documentaries of the year. The other one was the Michael Moore documentary Sicko, which I hate Michael Moore, so I can't imagine that one's better. But
if you think Seth Gordon is biased and
right.
he does some weird editing, look at the tactics of Michael Moore. He's actually one of the people I studied in college of how he will like completely take quotes out of context to get whatever he wants. Yeah.
Seth Gordon was also an executive producer on the movie Pixels, which is about video game characters coming to life in the form of like aliens and attacking the world. It's an Adam Sandler movie. And in that movie, there's a character played by Peter Dinklage that is just a miniature version of Billy Mitchell.
What?
Steve Wiebe's in that movie as well. He's a DARPA scientist or something.
But that just shows like this movie extended beyond just a documentary. Like it became like this cultural thing. Like even Mr. Litwack from the movie Wreck-It Ralph was modeled after Walter Day. Like that's why he wore the referee outfit.
Oh my God.
That makes sense.
That's so cool. But also, what the fuck?
I think it makes me wonder how I had never heard of this movie before.
Yeah, I remember hearing about it right around when it came out because my cousin was like, have you seen this documentary? Because he knew I like movies. And I hadn't gotten around to see it until just now. But even him, who did not watch a lot of movies, knew about this documentary for some reason. So this had a bigger reach than I think we maybe realize.
So this was a first time viewing for everybody here except for me?
You've seen it before?
You have to watch it when you enroll in a pinball league.
Oh, that
It's
makes
required
more
viewing.
sense.
These are just a few of our incredible thoughts.
Chumpatize himself was probably my favorite thing from this movie. Playing an arcade game that has a roll ball with your foot in a competition setting is fucking disgusting. And I'm looking at Ben right now for his reaction to this. Do you remember that
that's
happening?
nasty. No, I must have blocked that out.
Brian Koo did that, right? Or no, not Brian Koo. It was that other guy that I don't know if they gave his name. The one that had the hand thing for the rollerball game, and then he was using his foot, right?
Oh yeah,
That grossed me out a little bit too.
I don't know, but yeah, once I saw somebody using their foot to roll a ball, I was like, "Oh God, never again." This was my favorite observation. Billy Mitchell is the evil Jonathan Van Nuys.
Oh,
Yeah. And also, I don't think I saw one single quarter in this movie, which is titled King of Kong: Fistful of Quarters.
Oh, we'll get it. Let me talk about how inappropriate this title is for this movie.
Now, say my name.
Not only do they not fucking say King of Kong within it, King Kong has nothing to do with this movie. It's Donkey Kong. Like, that's a terrible pun in the first place. Secondly, you put the addendum to a fistful of quarters, which implies a fistful of dollars, because it's a play on that.
Yeah.
In a fistful of dollars, there's a showdown at the end. So this entire movie with the title has this promise of an epic showdown between Billy and Steve, and then it just completely blackballs us and doesn't give us anything. Like, the title's a lie. It sucks. It should have been called what Emily called it, which is fucking white people.
So you didn't see the Fistful of Dollars remake where they sent in the video of the showdown?
No, I missed that one.
Oh, okay.
It's funny you said that, it's not even related to King Kong, because I promise you, I definitely thought this was a movie about King Kong. I thought it was a documentary about King Kong before I watched
almost
it.
rented the movie King Kong when you sent it to me at first, because that's how I read it. And I was like, oh yeah, King Kong. That came out in 2007,
King
right?
Kong,
And I was
Fistful
like,
of Quarters.
No. Yeah.
I have a very short rant today.
Well, I have a microphone and you don't.
So you will listen to every damn word I have to say!
There was a moment at the end of the movie right before Steve Wiebe goes and does his final showdown that doesn't actually happen because Billy just walks past him 8 times and doesn't do anything. But Steve Wiebe's talking to someone at a party before he leaves, and he's like, yeah, one of my tougher students. He's like, when are you going to go kick that guy's ass? And Steve Wiebe's like, yeah, watch your language. And then he's like, soon. I'm going to go soon. And I'm like, what the fuck? What the actual fuck? Really? That's what you're going to talk to someone about? And that's what they decided to put in their movie? I just thought that was the stupidest thing as a teacher to talk about. My toughest student talks about ass.
I had a student threw a stool at me last year.
I've had a student hit me before.
Yeah, no, those are tough students.
my toughest student beat the shit out of me, and now I'm gonna play this video game, so I hopefully forget.
PJ, you got a review for us?
King of Kong: A Fistful of Quarters is a documentary about the intense rivalries of 1980s arcade game champions. With a name and plot like that, you would think mockumentary like This Is Spinal Tap or Best in Show, but no. This stuff really happened and is at least mostly accurate. The music and special effects stand out, as well as the rivalry between the third-person talking Ben Stiller caricature and reigning champ Billy Mitchell and the new coming challenger and possibly autistic Family Guy Steve Wiebe. This feels like a real-life inspiration for the movie Dodgeball and teaches a similar lesson. If you can dodge a barrel, you can dodge a fireball. I give this movie 4 rolling barrels out of 5.
Nice.
I love it.
Beautiful.
So before we get into our battle today, I do have a couple options for Matt and PJ to pick from to answer for their first question. So I'm going to list 6 video game characters, and you get to pick one of them. So your list of options is Zelda, Cortana from the Halo series, Sackboy from Little Big Planet, Claptrap from Borderlands, Princess Rosalina from Nintendo. I don't think she's actually in any games other than Mario Party. Or Chun-Li from Street Fighter.
I'm going to go with Claptrap, I think. Yeah, that should be fun.
That was one that I almost didn't throw out there because I didn't know how popular that choice would be, but I'm very happy because I think
I'm a big Borderlands fan.
Perfect,
yeah.
because I think that's a great option. All right, Matt.
I think I'm gonna go Street Fighter and go Chun-Li.
Excellent.
I actually know who those characters are.
And now it's time to play head-to-head battle of the videotaped high scores. I will pose 3 rounds of questions to our Kong tenders.
Oh.
Ew.
Look at your face. Look at that face. He's so excited. So excited.
I was so happy with that one. The winner of each round will get 300 Emily points for each smashed barrel, which the conversion rate is 300 to 1 IDYP points. The second place gets 10,000 Wesley points, which converts to absolutely nothing on any point scale.
Yes.
I will be more easily persuaded by the more donkey and the Kongi answers. After we convene and discuss, I will hand out your reward tickets and let you choose between a gumball or a plastic spider ring, and then we'll update the leaderboards. So, button mashers, are you ready?
Yeah.
Reluctantly ready.
All right, cool. So, before I gave you guys the options of some characters. So, for this Wesley's Wandom question, 82 minutes was still a long time to watch a movie when the entire time they're just playing video games. So how about a documentary of an actual video game character? So I would like you to write me a story based on the choice of your Wandom character and tell us about it. And we're starting with Matt, who chose Chun-Li.
My documentary would be the day in the life of a female CEO entrepreneur of her own kickboxing and parkour company / influencer. So, it would be like you start off, we're in her house, right? You get to, it's like, think like MTV Cribs. So we're in her house, we go into her closet, we see all of her little blue uniforms. They're all blue uniforms. And you're just like, holy shit, that's crazy, And, like that's like where it's like it's like her Street Fighter outfit over and over and over and over again. And with like the other like alternate variation, there's just 2 colors. And then, the documentary would be shot like all like from like horizon, like 2D. So we'd see her walking through the frame, like, and that's kind of, that'd be like the vibe of the doc, just to honor, the video game Street Fighter. And, we'd also see like her, doing like how-to parkour videos for like her IG crowd, her TikTok crowd. And, it'd be like her inverted kick moves, and she'd have like how to kick faster, and it'd be like kickboxing, like practice of like her just blasting this thing. And, these videos are getting like millions of views. So she's obviously a huge influencer. And you could tell like outside of the video game, if we were in a documentary style world, we could tell she would be, even without winning a single fight, she would be like the richest person out there just because of her skills. So yeah, this documentary would focus on her, and she'd also be the first female protagonist in the Street Fighter series. So it'd be about shattering that glass ceiling and, beating the Americans, Guile. So it'd be about beating this fucking, hot guy up. And that'd be the end of the movie.
So the last scene would be her accomplishing her goal of kicking a hot guy.
Hot Guile.
Okay.
So it's more of a day in the life documentary. What's the central conflict?
I think it's more of like like think like daytime TV type vibes, like how like MTV Cribs is like you don't necessarily know where it's going until towards the end where it finds its Guile storyline. I mean, like it's not going to be the greatest documentary, but
Good pitch.
I think we got something. Is basically what I'm saying.
I think we got.
It's like those episodes of Cribs that find their way to the ultimate fight at the end.
Yeah, naturally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't tell me you wouldn't watch that Cribs episode though. Yeah, we get to see Mike Tyson's house as Tiger, and then he beats a guy up. Yeah, you're telling me you're not going to watch that?
All right, PJ, you chose Claptrap. So let's hear it.
All right, so I have a documentary. It's called Claptrap, The Real Savior of Pandora. And real is spelled R3AL. So here's my pitch for it.
Yeah.
Pandora, a planet full of chaos and bloodshed, has had many heroes traverse its surface hunting after mysterious vaults and plenty of loot besides. Or has it? Of all the so-called heroes of this odd little planet, only one has been there for every single battle, and until this point, been relegated to the background of stories that Marcus loves to tell. Claptrap, the real savior of Pandora, follows our lovable, loquacious protagonist to every unseen battle that held the fate of Pandora in its hands. Like the time he stopped a 100-foot-tall berserker by beating him in a beatboxing contest, or how he foiled Dr. Zed's zombie invasion with nothing but the scraps of metal on his back and a little dumb luck. Shot guerrilla style with an over-the-shoulder view of our hero, you get to see the robot, the dance king, the legend, save Pandora for real. Filmed, directed, and produced by CL4P-TP. It's short, but yeah, that's my little pitch for it.
Yeah.
I loved
it. I love that.
I love it so much.
I mean, Claptrap just has a special spot in I think just about anybody that's played Borderlands in their hearts. But yeah, that made me really happy.
I mean, special spot meaning he's so annoying, but I absolutely love him. But sure, yeah.
He's never, not for one moment did I ever think Claptrap was annoying.
Oh.
And those for that haven't seen it, it's a cute, annoying little yellow robot.
Yeah,
talks a box. It's like Wall-E, but worse.
I was going to say, think Wall-E, but he's kind of like the how-to in the very beginning of the game. He kind of introduces you to where you're playing and then kind of pops up throughout the game as like, hey, you need to go do this so that we can get this done. He's kind of like your mission giver.
The better answer is just to go play any of the Borderlands games because they're all fantastic.
Yep. Fantastic. All right, on to question 2. So we all know, and maybe after our movie discussion, I might have to change this to we all, except for Ben, know that the creepiest part of this movie is Mr. Awesome. I'm just kidding. I think Ben knows as well. But how funny would it be if he delivered a middle school speech? So
he does real motivational speeches.
Okay, well, I didn't want to actually subject myself to that, but I would like to hear what you guys think he would do if he gave a speech to a middle schoolers. So we are going to start with PJ for this one.
Okay. So,
this is going to be good. All right, I'm ready.
I'm going to try it. I'm so nervous to do this one because I think it's stupid, but
that's okay. That's what we love.
If you guys don't know who Mr. Awesome is, probably should watch some of his stuff, or those won't make a lot of sense.
Find him on YouTube.
Yeah,
find him on YouTube. All right. Be seated. Hello, Valley Center Middle School students. I look around this room and all I see are chumps. Not chumps because you want to be, but people who don't know how to stop chumpatizing themselves. I'm Mr. Awesome. I drive the Awesome Mobile to fame and fortune. And today, I'm going to teach you how to stop being chumps and how to get what you really want. I know your principal thought he was bringing me here today because you kids like video games and I'm the reigning champion of Missile Command. So I should be able to teach you kids how to be successful and not give up on your dreams. But Mr. Awesome knows what you really want. Sure, you like video games, and that's the only way your chump principal thinks he can get through to you.
Oh, no.
We all know how puberty is a bitch, and all you really want at this stage in your awkward lives is for Mr. Awesome to teach you how to get a nasty piece of poontang. Now, listen, no one ever got laid by being nice or considerate, and sure, having the Awesome Mobile and a sick-ass fanny pack really helps, but you chumps got to get out there and... the principal's dragging me off stage. Go buy my book. Mr. Awesome, The Comic Book Life of Roy Schill. It's terrible.
I love that he shills his book to a bunch of middle schoolers with no money.
I had to include that part because it just starts off with him just like talking about poontang.
Yeah.
God damn it.
Oh, what a character. Oh my God.
It's always fun getting to see which direction somebody else takes it. And you're like, oh boy. Because you get to go
just
second,
went all out. I don't
and
know.
now I'm just like, oh, man, like, I'm not feeling good.
That makes me even more excited. Thank you, PJ. That was a great answer. And now let's hear why Matt is so nervous.
You know, this is different answers. I don't want you to feel like it's going to be grosser or less gross, but it's just like...
It's just different.
You've already set my expectation.
Okay, so I want you guys to think, auditorium, that 80s metal that you'd hear in the weight room, and then a slow to follow spotlight on Mr. Awesome. Think conference room vibes, Michael Scott. This is his motivational speech. You should all want recognition. What's your legacy? What's your autobiography read like? Who will buy it? How will you sell it? What will your vanity plates read? You should be asking yourself questions like this. You should all know what you're good at. What's your sperm count? What's your IQ? What can you bring to this world? I'm Mr. Awesome. I'm the Missile Command record holder, and I could fuck your mom better than your dad's, and you can take that to the bank. So in closing, I should get some kind of recognition or celebrity. I mean, at least for a day. Thank you. I've been Mr. Awesome. You've been middle school students. Thank you.
Oh my God.
The abruptness of the ending of that speech. Well, I've been Mr. Awesome.
And you've been middle school students.
Matt, I gotta ask, was Mr. Awesome on anything at this point? There were some maybe not so deliberate slurs in there. I just want to clarify.
Oh, man. He's at least high.
That poor middle school. I'm assuming that they're the same middle school, and it was like back-to-back years, and Mr. Awesome came back for a second term.
I don't know why they invited him back.
He swore he had changed.
Different principal.
There you go.
Yep.
Just real quick, what's the most famous person that your high school has ever had? Somebody from our high school won a KDWB Baha Men concert. Did you guys ever have anything crazy like that?
I actually had the exact same thing. Oh, wait, that's right. We all went to the same high school.
Me, you, and Ben, yes.
Yeah.
Nothing for high school, but elementary school, we had the guy that did the watercolor for the old turtle book come and teach us a lesson in watercolor.
That's actually kind of sick. Like that guy.
I think he's dead now. He was really old. And I remember I was in trouble because Principal Trinan called me and this other guy to his office, and we were fourth graders. And he's like, "Hey, can you greet this guy for us when he gets here?" And I was like, "Sure." It was my first time in the principal's office. So I got to greet him and bring him to our art class to talk about art.
That's sick.
Nice. Do you guys know who Butterbean is, the boxer?
Yes.
He went to my high school, I guess. And then I never met him, but I also heard, you guys see Tiger King this year?
Yeah.
I feel like everybody's seen Tiger
We've
King.
all been in quarantine. Yeah, we all watched it.
Of course. What's that guy, Jeff? The one with the takes over? People from my hometown tell me that he's from my hometown originally. So he must have went to my high school. But yeah, I never had any like famous speakers or anything like that.
Jeff Lowe.
That I can think of. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's from my hometown as well. So we've had some interesting characters.
Okay. Very cool.
On to question 3. So your opponent is now going to give you a world record, and I need you to explain why it is most deserving of a documentary about itself. So Matt's going to go first, which means that PJ, can you please give Matt a world record to defend?
Yes. World's longest chest hair.
Oh, yeah.
Something Matt has zero chance of winning. So while Matt writes his answer, let's chat a little bit. PJ, what have you been up to recently? Have you been watching anything interesting, listening to anything that you want to talk about briefly?
I've been watching Mandalorian season 2, which has been great. I think as we're recording this, there's only 3 episodes out.
Yes.
And they just opened up movie theaters, some movie theaters near where I'm at, and I saw Tenet, which is fantastic.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have seen it. I know a lot of people aren't going to movie theaters. I think me and my wife were the only people there, so it was kind of great. We went to a matinee, and that movie is just great. I'm a big fan of Christopher Nolan films.
I've heard mixed reviews. Like, it's a very Christopher Nolan movie, so that makes sense if you're a Nolan fan.
I still think that Inception is better, but I will say this is his most confusing film, which makes it kind of really, really interesting.
Yeah.
If you watch it, just know that you're going to be 45 minutes into it before you even have a clue what the hell is happening at all.
Perfect.
And then even after you finish it, I've seen it twice now, actually. And even after the second time, you're like, man, I think I need to buy the movie and watch it with subtitles, because my one complaint is a lot of the dialogue is not loud enough to get over the explosions and music and sound effects.
Oh.
And it's a very confusing film without giving away anything. There's like some time travel elements and stuff, and it's great though. I would suggest to anybody.
There's a lot of like animosity towards Christopher Nolan as a director because his sound mixes make it so difficult to hear the dialogue, and his response is, It's not about what they're saying. It's about how it's making you feel. So he actually knows that people can't hear what they're saying in the movie, and he just doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, normally it never bothered me. It never bothered me in his other movies. This one, it didn't bother me as much as everybody else was making out to be. But I will say, if you really want to understand it, you probably should watch it with subtitles on at some point, because there's some very confusing concepts in this film that are great. And I think he did a fantastic job, but it is a head scratcher for sure.
Yeah. I first noticed it in Dunkirk. How I couldn't hear anything going on in that movie except the explosions.
I feel bad that I have not yet seen Dunkirk, and I really need to.
It's decent. All right, Matt. I think we gave you more than enough time there.
Plenty of time.
So, Matt, can you please explain why your world record of the world's largest chest hair is deserving of a documentary?
The reason it's deserving of a documentary is because of the back and forth between the Italian man and the American man. Okay? There's a big rivalry, and the name of my movie is called Ford versus Ferrari. Okay? There's this American guy trying to take back the crown. You know, he doesn't shave anything. He Rogaines his entire body every day, you know? And then this Italian guy used a fake ruler to falsify and steal the record. Okay? So the American guy has to stretch the limits of what body hair can do. So the American eventually wins by breaking into the record keeper location and tearing off his shirt.
Tearing off his shirt?
Yeah, to reveal his chest hair.
Okay.
Right.
Matt, why should I, Emily, see this documentary? Like, what would interest me?
Well, okay, so like the Italian guy, you know, he steals the record with a short ruler, you know, like a fake, like a novelty ruler, and like it looks it looks like the world record. So he cheats, but not only that, he shaves the American's chest. You know, so there's like shenanigans, and then the American guy just like he grows hair like this, and he's the best at it. So that's the reason he's going to take back the record. 12 inches coming this fall in 2012, 5 years after 2007. 12 inches. Let's go.
And Emily would understand the movie better if she had seen Ford versus Ferrari, because this is basically the plot of that movie.
Ford versus Ferrari was very funny.
I'm like, I don't know what's happening.
So, Matt, it's time for you now to give PJ a world record.
It's 28 hours, and it's the longest game or session of pinball on one machine.
Damn. All right.
Matt, tell us about your wedding.
Yeah.
Oh, exciting. We're going to be cleaning stuff all day today, and then we're going over the plan tonight in terms of like, you know, all the deadlines and stuff we got to hit. And then like, yeah, on Friday, it's going to hopefully be cool. It sucks because of COVID, you know, like a lot of people can't come.
But you're getting married in less than a week.
I'm excited.
What's going to happen?
Well, it's going to be in Louisiana. We're going to drive over there, and there's going to be like 35-ish people. Ben's going to do the ceremony. Yep. Whoop, whoop, woo.
Whoop, whoop. Script optional.
Oh, dear.
Just know my first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to have the script in front of me, and I'm going to tear it up right in front of Shelby's face. And I'm going to ad-lib the entire thing.
Right. Webster's dictionary defines love as... Yeah, so that's cool. It's just been pretty stressful, though, like outside of that, just COVID-related stuff. So we've had stuff. We lost our venue after we rescheduled, and then, you know, people can't come. Like there's one of our best friends can't come, and then, you know, somebody else can't come, one of our best friends. So
and me,
yeah, and Wes can't come
because I have Crohn's.
A lot of my family can't come. So yeah, it's just been really stressful outside of that, and it's like I'm really glad it's happening.
Well, on top of that, give us like the one food item that you're most excited for, because that was always the thing I was excited about for my wedding.
Cake. It's got to be cake.
Well, what kind of cake is it? Do you know? Obviously, you should know.
Yeah. It's you know, it's the wedding. I think the sponge is different. It's like wedding cake is different. And then it's like it should be a raspberry filler. We went cake testing like a year ago, so It was a long time ago, but I'm excited. It's like a famous place from Baton Rouge. So
I know going to Louisiana, I'm really hoping to try boudin balls.
okay. I'm not sure if we have those or not. I can't remember.
Well, I'm sure the city has them somewhere.
Oh, yeah. You'll be able to get them.
Sweet.
All right, PJ. Matt gave you the world record of longest session of pinball.
All right, so I've got a documentary coming out called 28 Hours, a Study of Obsession and Sleep Deprivation. This documentary actually starts with the world record pinball game played on one machine, 28 hours long, and follows the record holder through his struggles with PTSD, withdrawal, OCD, and sleep deprivation. So this documentary kind of flips the whole thing on its head, where it's not really about the event itself, but the aftermath and the consequences of staying awake for 28 hours straight to play one pinball game. So the record is just the beginning, and it's really a life study of this guy and his problems, his waking up in the middle of the night, screaming, slapping his hands back and forth like he's trying to keep it from falling in the... just goes through all of that, his medication, his sleep regimen to get back on schedule, all the health problems. And it really should speak to everyone, because it kind of shows the problems with world record breakers in general, and kind of cuts to other people that have just destroyed their lives trying to break these records and the struggles they go through. So it starts in one place and it kind of leads you into another direction, a kind of a case study of the damages of Guinness Book of World Record title holders. So that's my documentary.
Wow.
Amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have no questions. I want to see that.
Yeah.
This is very close, as they sometimes are, but these were some genuinely good answers here. So question 1, again, was the random character that you had to make a documentary about, video game character. Matt, your answer was basically just an episode of Cribs, but then he fought Guile at the end. Mm-hmm. So I liked a lot of your details, and I like there were some very funny aspects of it, like a full closet full of the blue uniforms I thought was really funny, and shot kind of side scroll style was very cool.
Yeah, I agree.
But it still felt very much like an episode of Cribs and not like a documentary. PJ, I just loved hearing a story of Claptrap and him being the hero, especially the beatboxing battle and the guerrilla style of shooting, especially like on a planet like Pandora. I think that would just be a perfect fit. So it was very close again, but that one we're going with PJ. Question 2, Mr. Awesome's middle school motivational speech.
Fucking Mr. Awesome.
Oh man.
Oh boy. So PJ, you had a lot of direct quotes from Mr. Awesome, which I loved, especially leaning so hard into the chump aspect. I like how many times you worked that in. It was very funny. Matt, I really liked the visual direction that you gave for the motivational speech. I thought that worked really well, especially with kind of like how charismatic Mr. Awesome appears to be, and just your kind of embodiment of Mr. Awesome in tone more than verbiage, but especially in the quote of "I could fuck your mother better than your dad." Was
any of your dads?
It was any of your dads?
I can fuck your moms better than all of your dads.
Oh, that's even better. Okay, well, you were getting that point anyway, but yeah, that one's going to Matt. God damn it, that's a funny line.
I will say, PJ, though, I loved the little detail of you moving away from the mic as he was getting dragged away.
Yes. Yeah. Plugging his own book while he's getting pulled off stage.
I know.
Yeah, I like how we both pumped his book. I was like, oh, okay, yeah. Like, this is sick.
All right, so question 3, your opponent gave you a world record and you had to defend why it deserved a documentary about it. Matt, you had world's longest chest hair. I love the Ford versus Ferrari thing, was very funny. And it's also very on point for you for somehow weaving an existing property into your answer. Still very funny, though. PJ, I think it was just a great answer. Flipping the point of view and making it about a person versus the high score and like the actual event, and making it more of a serious thing. Like, while that's, maybe not a funny answer, I think it was still really, really, really good. So we are giving that one to PJ as well. So that means that PJ is walking away today with the winner of 2-1. But that also means that, I don't know, for those of you following along at home, and hopefully we'll surprise PJ a little bit here, that puts our guests at 10. So that means that the guests gets a prize. So PJ, as the lucky guest who crossed that 10-point threshold, what would you like as a gift?
So I think it would be very fun to see you guys kind of break structure for an episode. I know Christmas is coming up, so I thought it'd be fun if you went outside of your comfort zone a little bit of 2007, that nice, comfy little year that we all remember fondly, and do a Christmas special of a movie outside of 2007.
Okay.
I think we can do that.
All right. You know what? I think we can do that.
Awesome. That's a great idea, PJ.
Thanks for the idea. We love it.
We love our guests providing us programming.
Oh my God. PJ, I love you, dog. PJ, thank you for being on the show. Is there anything you'd like to plug?
Sure. First of all, I'd just like to say thank you guys a ton for having me on. This was a blast.
Yes, thank you.
I actually do genuinely enjoy listening to your guys' podcasts. I'm not just here because of a way to, get my name out there. I actually really do like your podcast. It was a lot of fun to be here. Yeah. So right now I'm kind of a little bit on a hiatus because of work and family issues and things like that. I'm planning to come back to podcasting in the beginning of 2021. There's still tons of episodes out there if people want to listen to Totally Plausible Conspiracy Theory Podcast or Real Gaming Podcast. That's real with 2 E's. They're a lot of fun. I've got a lot of great guests on Real Gaming. Yeah. I do want to bring Emily on for an episode of Real Gaming where we talk about one of my favorite epic poems, Beowulf. It's got a movie based on it that actually is from 2007, so I thought it would fit, and a video game based on that. So I thought that would be pretty fun. And then, Real Gaming or Totally Plausible, we're just always coming up with new and interesting stuff. We might end up doing some type of Christmas special or some episodes thrown in here or there. So you guys can find those anywhere you listen to podcasts or on YouTube. And we do stream Totally Plausible at twitch.tv/totallyplausible. And I do some Twitch gaming at twitch.tv/throwawaypj. So those are my plugs.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm so glad I reached out to you.
Yeah, thank you. I really do appreciate it.
That was really fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So Ben, what do we have next week?
Yeah, so, the next 2 weeks now, since we've got to film this Christmas special, it sounds like. So we're going to do the next episode that it comes out. That's a 2007 movie. Will be Dan in Real Life. And that's just going to be the core 4 of us chatting about that Steve Carell movie. And then also our Christmas special will be coming out soon after that.
What kind of Christmas movies are we going to talk about?
I don't know.
I mean, Die Hard for sure.
Obviously, Die Hard is definitely a Christmas movie. It's happening. Thank you so much, PJ. We love you.
Thank you, PJ.
Thanks, PJ.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.